Hi, welcome to the Drunk Linux User. I am Len. I am the Drunk Linux User. And today we're doing something a little bit different. We're not ranting and raving about surveillance states or anything like that. We're actually going to talk about Linux. And I am using something a little different today. I'm using Pop! OS, which is made by a company called System 76, which if you watched one of my earlier shows, you know that I mentioned that they're a little bit of a different kind of company. They make hardware for Linux users, and they've developed their own brand of Ubuntu. They've changed it over and they've called it Pop! OS. And this is their website here. And this is a very, very nice version of Ubuntu. And they talk about how your workflow is supposed to be better with this. They use auto tiling with Pop Shell. These are all really, really nice features. They use different workspaces. They're sort of like those virtual window things that you can get on any Microsoft product right now. And just a lot of really nice ways to make things different, to make it work for you. It's all about deep learning, engineering, media production, bioinformatics, and the cat in the background is Mazikeen. She's got a big mouth. She's part Siamese, and she likes to hear me talk sometimes, and she likes to talk back. Anyway, if you are interested in taking a look at Pop! OS, I would come here, take a look at it first, read up on it, see if it's something that's interesting to you. I will let you know that there is something strange about the way Pop! OS interferes with your booting system called Grub. What it does is it basically overrides whatever you have. So if you're installing this alongside, say, Windows or another Linux distribution, you're going to have to do a little tweaking. And I'm going to include all these links in here, but the tweaking is going to involve telling Pop! OS that it is not in control of you. You are in control of it. It's not that difficult. I did it first time, worked perfectly, was able to boot into Unity with Linux Mint, or vice versa actually, and come right back into Pop! OS again. And Pop! OS is very smooth, very fluid, but I'm going to tell you right now that if you have an older machine, like anything else running GNOME 3 or 4, it's going to drag. Okay, so you want to have a more modern and probably more powerful computer or laptop. But is it worth it? We're going to find out. I've read that it's supposed to be very, very good for making videos and doing media production, so we'll see. The test and the proof is in the pudding, right? I've also talked about different file systems. Now, when I was using Linux Mint, I had to put it on the computer with the BTRFS file system because it would not take with ext4. Lo and behold, the other distribution that I tried to bring up once before that I couldn't remember, that will actually go and install with the ext4 file system is Pop! OS. Go figure. So I was able to install this without any goofing around, tweaking. So I'm using the ext4 system, and to learn more about file systems, I've got this link here. This is actually very interesting because this is what my BIOS looks like. So it's a Dell on the beach. Old joke. And it talks about Core Boot and UEFI, which is what I'm also using. Booting with BIOS and UEFI. The bootloader. This is what Grub looks like. If you've never seen the Grub bootloader, Grub 2, this is it. This program right here is called gparted, and basically what it does is it allows you to create new partitions, shrink, expand, change the file systems over from one thing to another. Very, very useful tool. Be very careful with it. You could accidentally delete your system and completely hose your day. So we're talking about the partitioning here. I'm not going to talk about LVMs at this particular moment. That's not what this is all about. But file systems, for example, the most typical partition type that is used among Linux-based systems as of now is ext4. Now, a file system determines how data is stored and how it will be processed when it's asked for. And taking a look here, you've got different Linux file systems, the ext2 and 3, which are older, 4, which is more modern, the BTRFS system, which I use with Linux Mint. There's also something called ZFS, and there is a file system called swap. Now, if you have a lot of RAM, like 16, 32 gig or 64 gig, your need for swap is greatly reduced and probably not even worth setting up. The system typically will determine whether it needs swap or not, and that's going to be a separate partition. But sometimes you'll run across a distribution that instead of creating a different partition, what they'll do is they'll make it dynamic, which means it can shrink or grow, and a dynamic file called swaps. So this way you don't have to worry about losing too much of your hard drive space if you're worried about it. A swap file system is handy if you need it. If you have about 8 gig or 12 gig of RAM, you definitely want to consider using swap. And this talks again about non-Linux file systems, FAT, NTFS, and there's also disk encryption. This is actually in some ways a pretty interesting little article if you're interested in Linux and what makes it go. You have seen me use the terminal on occasion, and you've seen me do things like sudo apt install name a thing or whatever. But you can also move around. For example, you can do cd, change directory, and then I can type in let's put in whoops downloads. Okay, you can see by the blue text right here saying downloads, I've just moved my terminal from the home part of my file system directory to the downloads folder. Go back to the download or the regular home folder. I just do cd, and boom, I'm right back there again. Well, there are other ways that you can do that, and just to clarify a little bit, a command terminal on Linux is a CLI, or command line interface, where you type the commands that would otherwise take time with the graphical user interface, or GUI. And it's the equivalent to the command prompt CMD provided in Windows. So you might see that there are going to be some similarities between Linux and Windows when it comes to using the terminal. But just understand that instead of using, the way you would look at it, it would be, instead of using this for Windows, you're going to be using that for Linux. So it's sort of like wax on, wax off. If you learn both, you're in good shape. And then here's the cd command and how it can be used and such. The link will be in the description if you're interested in learning how to maneuver a little bit better in the terminal, especially if you're trying to read directions and you're not quite sure, what am I supposed to do? This is a really, really nice article about that. If you really, really want to learn more about Linux, there is this course, and you better hurry because they're saying there's only like 3 days left on it. But, and I can't vouch for this, I'm just going to tell you this right now, but I ran across this. If you're interested, there are a lot of different courses that you can take. It's $59, and they have Red Hat, they have Linux shell scripting, they have security techniques, and I guess you can get the whole package for $59. Sounds like a good deal, and you get lifetime access. And I suppose lifetime access means as long as they have this up, you have access to it. So they also describe more about what the different classes are, and if you're interested, check it out. If you don't think it's for you, move along. But let me also tell you this: you can go online and you can learn a lot about Linux for free. I did. Could I learn more? Yeah. One of those things is programming. I am not a programmer. I am two things. I am a media person, and I am somebody who really excels at being an end user, especially for beta testers. I have worked for major companies. I can't really talk about who they are, but you know them. One of them talks about a fruit. One of them talks about a way of being able to have sunlight come into your house. I have done work for certain graphic companies, and I have done work with certain companies that deal with doing financial work on your computer. I can't get any more specific with that because of NDAs. I know when things don't work. That's my gift. Okay, I can sit down and I can take a look at things and I can figure out, well, you know, this doesn't make sense. You've got this over here. It should be. I would think it would be over here. I'm very good at finding where things are not working right. So, you know, that's my gift to humanity right now. There are certain software packages I'm sure you have used where I've had a little bit of an influence on it. And when I mean little, I'm talking little, but it's there. You know, it's cool. I like it. It's fun. And sometimes you even get paid for this too. This is one thing that comes up every once in a while, and I'll be honest with you, when you dig too deep into something like this, my eyes kind of glass over. So I tried to find something that was very easy, and this is about Linux containers. And in short, a container contains applications in a way that keep them isolated from the host system that they run in. So it's sort of like what they've done with Android, where each application is separate and it's not hooked into the operating system. So if the program crashes, it doesn't take the whole system down. This is a very simplified explanation of what containers are, by the way. They're also designed to make it easier to provide a consistent experience as developers and system admins move code from development environments into production in a fast and replicable way. They're very much like a virtual machine, except they're not running a different operating system. They're just running code in a very, very specific container that will allow you to experience this in real time as opposed to virtual time, which takes additional resources, and you'll notice some lag when you're using it. And why is there so much interest in containers? Well, Docker. You may have heard about Docker. Docker is a command line tool that, for programmatically, wow, I actually said it right that time, defining the contents of a Linux container in code. Containers have also sparked an interest in microservices, architecture, and so forth. If you're interested, I'll leave this link up as well. And it's pretty much how the future of things have been rolling with Linux, and there are a lot of different applications that are being used along this line. There's a lot being used in the commercial application of Linux servers and services. So this is, if you're interested in getting involved with, you know, the big picture of how tech is moving in the world, you might want to bone up a little bit on Linux containers and Docker, and, you know, good luck to you. I am not that person. I can understand the application use of it, but I can't do this. I can't do this. So there we have it. We have information on Linux today. You didn't hear me sit around complain about anything, which is a nice change. I actually enjoy doing this more than sitting back and griping about the world as it has become. So, those words of wisdom once again. Don't drive drunk. Don't drink and drive. Don't go to eBay or Amazon or any other place all buzzed up because you think, I'm going to get the coolest stuff, because you probably aren't. It's a beautiful day. Bottoms up. Later, dudes. That needs to be warmed up.